Welcome to Void Realities, a place where the restless mind finds calm, where science becomes story, and the vast mysteries of the universe unfold like a dream. If the night feels too heavy, if sleep feels far away, let these gentle words carry you across the quiet space between thoughts. Here time slows down, and the universe whispers softly, just for you. Deep sea survival. The descent begins. You drift downward through layers of fading light. The surface becomes a memory, the air a dream. Your body relaxes as darkness grows deeper. The ocean welcomes you into its ancient embrace. You begin at the surface, where the sea is still touched by the sky. The sun rests gently above, spilling its warmth across the rippling blue. You breathe in, slow and deep, the kind of breath that reminds you of safety, of beginnings. Here waves kiss the air and the line between water and sky feels thin, almost fragile. For a moment you linger, looking outward at the horizon that seems endless, and then you let yourself sink. The descent is not a fall but a drifting, as though your body remembers that water is an older home. The sea cradles you in its cool arms, and your body loosens in its hold. Around you light scatters in bright silver patterns. It dances across your skin, flickering like 1,000 gentle hands waving farewell. Above, the world of air and sound begins to blur, muffled into something distant, softer than memory. You drift past the first few meters, where most creatures live and play, where the sun still pours itself into the water. Here colors are bold, reds, oranges, and yellows swirl like petals in sunlight. But as you continue downward, those colors begin to dissolve. Red fades first, slipping away into a dull shadow. Then orange, then yellow. The deeper you go, the fewer colors remain. Soon only the blues and greens stay with you, flowing like silk ribbons in the water. This slow loss of color is not sadness. It is transformation. The ocean, like a careful guide, asks you to let go of surface things, bright distractions, loud noise, the weight of thought. The deeper you move, the more the world simplifies, drawing you into calmness. You feel it in your chest, in the steady rhythm of your heartbeat. At 20 meters, you notice the light above beginning to scatter. Sunbeams no longer pierce straight through. They bend, curve, and dissolve into soft pillars. They are like cathedral windows, tall and delicate, opening into a vast sanctuary of water. The surface above becomes less clear, less certain. You are leaving one world for another. At 30 meters, silence grows thicker. Sound moves differently here. Each movement of water, each shifting current, carries a low hum. Your ears, at first searching for familiar noise, begin to rest in this strange quiet. The sea has its own language, spoken not in words but in vibrations, in pressure, in the slow expansion and release of waves. By 40 meters, you realize that air is gone. The world of birds, clouds, and open breath is behind you. And yet, here you do not need it. You imagine the way fish carry life in their gills, pulling oxygen from the very water itself. You do not copy them, but you understand them, as though your body is learning a lesson in surrender. That there are many ways to survive, many ways to belong. You let yourself go deeper. 50 meters, 70. The pressure grows, though you cannot see it. It presses against your chest, against your skin, an invisible weight carried evenly across your body. It is not harsh, not yet. It is a reminder that you are entering a world built on different rules, a place where survival is written in new scripts. Your body remains steady, comforted by the even hold of the sea. At 100 meters, the light shifts again. No longer does the sun pour itself generously into the water. Instead, the brightness thins into a dusky blue. The world feels dreamlike, as though you are walking into twilight long before night should come. Shapes blur at the edges of your vision, and distance becomes uncertain. You are not lost, but you are wandering into mystery. Here you notice how creatures change. A small school of fish flickers past, their scales catching what little light remains. Their movements are slow, measured, conserving energy. Survival here is not about abundance but balance, about knowing when to move and when to still. As you descend further, 150 meters, 200, you see the faint glimmers of bioluminescence, tiny sparks in the water, faint and delicate, like stars waking in an early evening sky. They appear suddenly, then vanish, leaving you to wonder if you imagined them. But then more come, some steady, some pulsing, some moving in rhythm with invisible currents. This is not yet the deep black of the abyss, but you are being prepared for it. The body relaxes further as the descent continues. The rhythm of your thoughts matches the slow rhythm of water, of heartbeats, of quiet. You begin to understand that this is how the ocean holds life, not with speed, but with patience. Down here everything waits, and in that waiting there is peace. At 300 meters the world above has dimmed into a vague glow. The surface is no longer a memory of light, but a pale haze far away. You are drifting into a space that belongs more to night than to day. You imagine yourself a part of it, your body blending into the slow currents, your outline softened into shadow. And in this drifting you realize the ocean is teaching you. Every meter down is not only a journey through space, but also through meaning. The deeper you go, the quieter you become. The quieter you become, the more you can see, not with your eyes, but with a different sense, one that feels more like listening than looking. You pass 400 meters and the descent feels endless. Yet endlessness is not frightening. It is calming because there is no need to reach a bottom, no need to rush. You are simply carried, surrounded, embraced. This descent is not a fall, but a surrender into something vast and patient. At 500 meters, darkness begins to claim the space. But even in darkness, there is beauty. The last threads of sunlight fade, and bioluminescent sparks grow stronger. Tiny organisms drift like glowing dust, painting the water with faint light. It is like looking into a midnight sky filled with unfamiliar constellations. You do not know their names, but you feel their stories. The deeper you sink, the more your body feels part of the sea. The pressure, the silence, the shadows, all of it folds around you until you are no longer separate. You are not a visitor, not entirely. You are a participant, a witness to survival, to adaptation, to the slow miracle of life where light does not reach. And then at last you pause in your drifting. You look around and realize the descent has only just begun. The ocean holds many layers yet unseen, many mysteries still waiting in the silence. For now, you rest in this twilight, on the threshold of greater depths, and you breathe, not with lungs, but with calmness itself. The sea is asking you a question. If this is only the beginning, what will you find in the deeper dark? You float in twilight, balanced between fading sun and rising dark, and the ocean whispers that deeper mysteries wait below, inviting you to follow where the light surrenders, toward the realm where night becomes eternal. Twilight waters. Here light lingers faintly, bending into blues and violets. Creatures glow with living lanterns, signaling across silence. The ocean hums with quiet mystery. You learn how life adapts where day and night meet. You drift now into twilight, a place where the sun still tries to reach but cannot quite hold its ground. The water around you carries only traces of daylight, bent into long, slow beams that quiver and dissolve. This is the mesopelagic zone, the twilight waters. Here, between 200 and 1,000 meters, day and night meet but never quite agree. The light is dim, muted into deep blue and violet. You notice how the world here is painted in softness, a quiet palette chosen by the sea. No red, no yellow, no orange, only the faintest shimmer of blue slipping into gray. To your eyes it feels like evening stretched endlessly across time. Your body relaxes in this half-light. It is not the full safety of day, but neither is it the complete mystery of night. It is an in-between place, and you can feel how the ocean holds its breath here. Life in the twilight zone is careful, deliberate. Creatures know that energy is precious, that food is scarce. Many rise from the deep each night, climbing toward the surface under the cover of darkness, only to sink again by dawn. This great movement is called the Deal vertical migration, the largest daily migration on Earth, though it is hidden beneath the sea. You imagine tiny zooplankton rising together like a living tide, followed by small fish, then larger predators. It is as if the ocean itself inhales and exhales with the rhythm of light. During the day they hide here in twilight, where dimness protects them. At night they climb toward the surface to feed, following the pull of moonlight. As you drift, you see flashes of faint light. Bioluminescence, tiny sparks drift through the water like floating stars. Some glow steadily, a calm blue lantern. Others flicker on and off, pulsing in patterns. This light is not just beauty, it is communication. Some creatures flash to attract a mate, some scatter light as distraction, confusing predators. Others use it as camouflage, glowing softly to blend into the faint light filtering from above. A small fish glides by, its belly dotted with tiny glowing organs called photophores. From below, its light blends with the weak rays from the surface. To a predator looking upward, the fish seems to vanish. This trick is called counter-illumination, a survival strategy written in sparks. You notice how silence carries here. Every movement is careful, each flick of a fin measured. Energy cannot be wasted. Food drifts down slowly from the surface above. Flakes of organic matter, small dead creatures, fragments of life. Scientists call it marine snow. To you it looks like a dream of falling ash, endlessly sinking. Each speck is food, each flake a chance to live. Entire ecosystems depend on this snow, this gentle rain of death and nourishment. Your body feels the rhythm of stillness. In twilight, survival is about patience. You sense how creatures conserve energy, waiting in shadow until the right moment. Their bodies are designed for silence. Large eyes, wide and reflective, catch the faintest shimmer of light. Thin, translucent skin makes them nearly invisible. Jaws expand wide, ready to take any opportunity, because opportunities are rare. A lanternfish appears, its body shimmering with tiny lights like stars scattered along its sides. It moves in a school, hundreds drifting together, each carrying its own constellation. These fish are small, but they are among the most abundant creatures in the ocean, numbering in the trillions. Their glowing signals keep the school together in the darkness, a silent chorus of light. Deeper still, shapes shift. A shadow passes, long, slow, deliberate. Perhaps a squid, its tentacles trailing like ribbons in water. Some squid here have eyes the size of dinner plates, among the largest in the animal kingdom. In this dim light, sight is precious, and so evolution has stretched their vision wide, allowing them to catch even the faintest flicker. You notice how strange the eyes look in twilight. They reflect light differently, sometimes glowing back at you like mirrors. It reminds you of cats in the night, their eyes shining when caught by a beam. Down here, vision itself is survival. To see is to eat, and to avoid being eaten. Time moves slowly here. You feel no urgency, only the steady drift. Your thoughts move as gently as the current. In this twilight, there is no clear boundary between day and night. The cycle is stretched, softened, blurred. It reminds you that many things in life are not one or the other, but somewhere in between. Your body senses the growing weight of water above you. The pressure increases, but you do not resist it. You simply notice it, like a hand pressed steadily on your skin. Creatures here are shaped to accept it. Their bodies hold no air pockets, no fragile spaces to collapse. They are fluid, soft, flexible. Survival here means giving in, not fighting back. A comb jelly drifts nearby, its body transparent, delicate as glass. Along its edges, tiny rows of cilia beat rhythmically, scattering light into rainbows. Though the world is dim, the jelly carries its own shimmering prism. It glows softly, then fades, a silent lantern pulsing in rhythm with the current. The ocean feels endless. Yet even here, in the muted middle, every creature carries a story of adaptation. You begin to see that twilight is not emptiness, but abundance, an abundance of solutions, of creativity, of ways to live where light is scarce. You drift deeper still. The last hints of sunlight from above grow weaker, stretched into a thin veil. Bioluminescent sparks grow brighter in contrast. The twilight is darkening, preparing you for the next layer of descent. You feel the shift, a threshold approaching, where twilight gives way to true night. Your body relaxes further, your mind quiets, the water grows colder, the silence more complete. And yet there is comfort in this surrender. You are not alone. You are surrounded by billions of tiny lives, each surviving, each glowing softly in the dark. You understand now that the twilight zone is a place of balance, between day and night, between light and dark, between abundance and scarcity. And as you hover here, carried by the current, you feel yourself balanced too. But the descent is not finished. Ahead lies the midnight zone, where no sunlight reaches at all. What shapes, what lives, what mysteries wait in that eternal night? You drift at the edge of darkness, where the last threads of daylight dissolve, and the sea asks you to follow deeper into the midnight world where no sun has ever shone, and where survival takes on stranger, more secret forms. Breathing without air. The question of survival begins: how do bodies endure? Fish carry oxygen through delicate gills, pressure whispers against your own chest as you imagine it. The science of breath becomes a lesson in stillness. You linger now in twilight, drifting deeper with each slow exhale. The last touch of sunlight has grown faint, and in its place silence has thickened. Here you begin to wonder how life continues in such a place. There is no air to breathe, no open sky, no breeze to fill lungs, yet life flourishes hidden in the shadows. You turn your attention inward to breath itself. On the surface you hardly notice it. You inhale, you exhale, and air carries its invisible gift: oxygen. Every cell in your body hungers for it, though quietly, without complaint. But down here in this world without open air, survival is different. Fish drifting beside you carry the answer. Their gills are delicate combs of tissue, layered and thin. As water passes through them, oxygen slips across tiny membranes and enters the blood. To you it looks like a kind of underwater alchemy, turning liquid into breath, turning absence into survival. The water may seem empty, but it is not. Within each liter of seawater are molecules of oxygen, dissolved and waiting. Sunlight falling into the surface drives photosynthesis in drifting algae, creating oxygen that slowly mixes into the sea. Wind and waves stir the surface, folding air into water. What looks like emptiness is full of invisible life. You imagine the gills as windows, finely crafted. Each filament spreads out, increasing the surface area like thousands of threads in a woven fabric. The thinner the weave, the more oxygen can slip across. Blood flows close to the surface, red cells hungry for oxygen molecules. And as water passes over, the exchange is made, a quiet transaction that keeps the fish alive. Your body with its lungs is not made for this. Air must be drawn in, expanded into the delicate sacs of alveoli, where oxygen crosses into your blood. Without air, you would not last long here. But imagining gills, you sense a different kind of breathing, steady, constant, woven into the rhythm of water. A school of fish moves past you, their mouths opening and closing in unison. Each motion pulls water across their gills, a steady tide of survival. You notice the calmness in their movements. They do not gasp, they do not strain. Their breathing is a flow, matched to the currents around them. In their stillness you find a kind of lesson. Breathing, they seem to say, is not a grasping, it is a surrender. As you drift deeper, you begin to feel the presence of pressure. At the surface you breathe without noticing the weight of air pressing down. But here, every 10 meters adds another atmosphere of pressure, stacking like invisible hands upon your chest. At a few hundred meters, it is already dozens of times greater than at the surface. For a human body, this would be crushing. But the creatures here are not crushed. Their secret lies again in adaptation. Many deep-sea creatures have no air pockets in their bodies, no lungs, no bladders filled with gas. Where there is nothing to collapse, there is nothing to be destroyed. They are fluid, their bodies matching the pressure around them. Some fish at intermediate depths still carry swim bladders, sacs of gas that help them float. But even these are designed to shift. They can release or absorb gases as they rise or sink, adjusting carefully, like a diver managing buoyancy. A mistake could be deadly, but evolution has written patience into their blood. Others, especially in the deeper zones, have abandoned bladders altogether. Their bodies are dense, filled with oils or jelly-like tissues that do not compress. They drift not because of air, but because of balance. In this way, survival is achieved not by resisting pressure, but by harmonizing with it. You imagine for a moment what it would feel like, to breathe not with lungs but with gills, to float not by filling with air, but by becoming equal to the water around you. The thought soothes you. There is no struggle in it, no force. It is survival by gentleness, by becoming what the ocean requires. Jellyfish drift past you now, their bodies little more than water shaped by thin films of tissue. They have no lungs, no gills, no heart, and yet they live. Oxygen seeps directly across their skin, dissolving into their bodies with the current. For them, breathing is not an act at all. It is simply being. You watch their slow pulsing, their bell expanding and contracting. Each motion pushes them forward, each pulse carrying them deeper. And through every surface of their fragile skin, oxygen passes freely, enough to keep them alive. Their survival whispers of simplicity, of a life lived without excess. Deeper still, the water grows colder. With cold, oxygen lingers longer in the water, molecules move less quickly, dissolving more easily. It is one of the ocean's quiet gifts. In darkness and cold, oxygen becomes more abundant. It is as though the sea prepares its creatures, offering what they need to endure. You notice how some creatures take advantage of this abundance. The vampire squid, drifting slowly with arms spread like a dark umbrella, uses little energy. Its metabolism is low, its oxygen needs minimal. It survives by conserving, by asking little of the sea. Even its name, though dramatic, hides its true nature. Not a hunter, but a drifter, feeding gently on falling detritus. Its survival is quiet, almost invisible. Others, like the lanternfish you saw before, rely on careful timing. They rise toward the surface at night, where oxygen is richer and food more plentiful, and sink back into the twilight by day. Their bodies, adapted to both worlds, carry them safely between. As you drift among them, you begin to see how breathing is more than survival. It is rhythm. It is relationship. Life here does not take oxygen for granted, but dances with it, shaping bodies and behaviors around its flow. Every gill, every skin surface, every tiny movement is part of this dance. You take a slow breath yourself, though here it is imagined. You feel your lungs expand, your chest widen. You exhale, and in that release you feel something of the ocean's lesson. Breathing is not ownership, it is borrowing. Each inhale a gift, each exhale a return. The deeper you go, the more this lesson settles into you. You are not apart from the sea, not separate from its breathing. You are simply another rhythm, another pattern in its vast symphony. At 700 meters, twilight is fading. The last scatter of sunlight is gone. Around you, bioluminescence grows brighter in contrast, scattered sparks in the endless blue-black. Here you realize oxygen is not only taken in, it is used carefully, rationed with patience. Life has slowed its heartbeat, stretched its breaths, balanced itself perfectly. You begin to understand that survival in the deep sea is not about strength or force, it is about surrender, about adapting, softening, becoming part of what surrounds you. Breathing without air is not impossible. It is simply a matter of listening to what the ocean allows. You drift quietly, your body held by water, your mind resting in rhythm. You feel calmer, slower, more patient. The ocean has taught you something. To survive is not always to resist. Sometimes it is to let go. Ahead of you the water darkens fully. No trace of sunlight remains. The twilight has surrendered, and in its place comes the midnight zone, the bathypelagic, where no sunbeam has ever reached. Here the rules of survival will grow stranger still. You hover for a moment at the threshold, taking one last imagined breath. You exhale into silence, and the ocean carries you onward, downward, into night. You release your breath and feel the sea hold you gently, guiding you into the midnight waters where no light survives and where survival depends on stranger secrets still hidden, waiting in the blackness below. The pressure of the deep. The deeper you drift, the heavier the ocean presses. Every inch of your skin feels the invisible weight. Yet creatures here thrive in what would crush steel. You discover how biology bends without breaking. You hover on the edge of midnight as pressure gathers like a vast invisible hand. Every 10 meters adds another layer, one more atmosphere of weight, until the sea's quiet insistence becomes the landscape itself. You do not see pressure, you feel it, even, patient, everywhere at once. It does not strike. It simply holds, the way night holds the sky. You think of your body at the surface, nested under a single blanket of air. Down here the blankets stack without edges. At 100 meters it is many blankets. At 1,000 it is a tower of softness that would break steel and yet leaves a jellyfish untroubled. You ask how that can be true, and the ocean answers with design instead of words. Gas fails first. Air-filled spaces resist compression and so become vulnerable. This is why deep fish seldom keep a swim bladder of gas, why the creatures you meet feel viscous rather than hollow. They float with oils, wax esters, and careful salts that match the density of seawater. Nothing pops because nothing is rigid. Survival here means avoiding pockets that could collapse. You recall whales passing through your earlier drift, and you wonder about their lungs. Before diving, many whales exhale, sending bubbles upward like shed ballast. Their rib cages fold, their airways stay open, and the delicate alveoli collapse safely at depth, keeping nitrogen from dissolving into blood. Oxygen shifts inward, stored in muscles rich with myoglobin and blood filled with hemoglobin. The dive is not a holding of air, but a carrying of oxygen within. Pressure works on molecules too, squeezing the tiny dances of proteins. Folded shapes that flick at the surface may stiffen in the deep. To keep enzymes working, deep creatures season their cells with helpers, small molecules that counter the squeeze. Trimethylamine N-oxide, TMAO, is one such ally, a chemical brace that steadies proteins under weight. You cannot see it, but you can imagine many tiny hands keeping structure from slumping. Membranes must stay supple to live. At pressure and cold, fats that are stiff become prisons. So deep creatures weave more unsaturated chains into their cell membranes, kinks that refuse to pack tightly, allowing currents of life to pass. The difference between brittle and breathing can be a single bend in a molecule, repeated millions of times. Bones, where they exist, lighten, cartilage spreads, calcium thins, skeletons become frameworks of suggestion rather than fortresses. Heavy armor would cost too much. Energy saved is survival earned. You can feel the principle in your own shoulders as you let them drop. Softness is not weakness here, it is wisdom. You notice sound traveling cleanly across the dark, a low-distance music. Pressure does not hush sound. In some ways it carries farther. Sperm whales speak in clicks that ladder through blue space, hunting by echo where eyes must surrender. Fatty tissues guide vibration. Pressure shapes not only flesh but the senses that guide it. There is little room for bubbles of any kind, and so metabolism becomes slow theater rather than speed. Many animals drift between motions, conserving oxygen like careful savers counting coins. Hearts beat fewer times, muscles glide on stored fuel, nerve signals move with deliberateness. In this conservation is comfort. The sea teaches you to lay down urgency. You picture a steel submersible, its hull a compromise with the ocean. Engineers answer pressure with thickness, with spheres and cylinders that share load evenly. But biology solves it differently. Instead of resisting from the outside, life yields from the inside, distributing force through water-rich tissue. Your own calm now mirrors that choice. You let the weight pass through you like wind through reeds. Water itself is not perfectly incompressible. Under these depths it densifies a little, temperature falls, salt balances shift. The deep becomes heavier, slower, older. Chemical reactions move at a statelier pace. Bacteria that thrive here, pisophiles, lovers of pressure, eat what sinks and return its elements to the sea, closing circles without hurry. Even decay down here is gentle work. You think of the column above you, a mountain of liquid stacked to the stars. On land, mountains push down. Here the mountain rests upon you, and yet you float. Archimedes still keeps watch. The ocean lifts you with a force equal to the water you displace. Equal opposite is the contract that lets a paper-thin creature rise beneath 1,000,000 tons. Humans flirt with these depths using gases mixed with precision. Nitrogen can fog the mind. Oxygen in excess at pressure can kindle sparks within cells. Divers swap nitrogen for helium to stay clear-headed, live for weeks in saturation habitats so tissues reach equilibrium, then ascend slowly to avoid bubbles forming within blood. Even our technology must adopt patience to survive pressure's logic. Look closer at eyes. High pressure darkens water and steals long wavelengths, so eyes either grow vast to gather photons or shrink and surrender to other senses. Some fish pack their retinas with reflective layers, mirrors that recycle stray light. Others let vision go and read gradients of water movement through lateral lines, pressure sensing pressure, intelligence woven into flow. Eggs and larvae pose a special challenge. Some species release young at shallower depths, letting them grow where pressure is kinder. Others endow embryos with chemistry from the start, miniature suites of TMAO and flexible membranes, training the next generation to wear the deep like a comfortable coat. Survival in every epoch is parenting through physics. Even microbes feel the squeeze. Their RNA folds differently. Their ribosomes assemble with tiny adjustments that permit translation to proceed. Genes turn on that would sleep at the surface. Proteins gain subtle hinges. If you listen carefully, you can almost hear evolution's notes. Adjust here, soften there, add a kink, remove a bubble. Pressure partners with cold to create a world where time has a different flavor. A carcass that would vanish in days in shallow warmth may persist for months, becoming a slow banquet. Hagfish arrive like patient monks, rasping with keratin teeth while tying knots in their own bodies to gain purchase. The scene is not gruesome in this darkness, it is steady housekeeping. You consider your own heart. It too works better with gentle load than with panic. Under stress it hammers, under calm it tends. The deep suggests a practice. Breathe slowly, use only what you need, keep spaces within you free of trapped air, rigid plans, brittle opinions. Let pressure pass through without catching on corners. Some animals manufacture gelatinous coats, watery cloaks that add bulk without weight. Others build pressure-resistant proteins by swapping single amino acids, turning a screw by one notch and changing fate. Small changes, repeated across tissues, become survival you can hold, like a pebble warmed in the hand. You do not rush. You learn to read the minute weather of currents and to aim your body where effort will be smallest. Even predators use pressure as ally, waiting below prey and then rising on a thermal glide, spending gravity like a saved coin. Strategy is physics remembered through appetite. A last thought comes with the low thrum of the sea. Pressure is not enemy, but medium of form. It sculpts, selects, and steadies. Where the surface writes with light and wind, the deep writes with weight. Both are honest languages. Both can be read by a quiet mind. You feel a change ahead, not in weight, but in brightness. The dark will soon carry its own stars, small fires kindled inside bodies that have mastered night. You angle your drift toward that faint suggestion, curiosity brightening like a pilot light within your chest. ready to meet the glow that hunts and hides. The ocean's weight has taught you patience, and now the dark prepares its lanterns, whispers of fire in the endless black, guiding you into the glow of the abyss. Lanterns in the darkness. Bioluminescence paints the abyss in sparks of blue, a slow ballet of glowing signals and silent hunts. Light is both shield and a weapon. You follow its science like stars in a dark sky. You drift further into the midnight zone, where sunlight has vanished entirely. The last beams surrendered above you, leaving only cold silence and weight. At first it seems that this must be the end of vision, that darkness has swallowed everything. But then, faintly, unexpectedly, a light appears. It is a flicker at first, a tiny pulse of blue in the black, then another and another. Soon you realize the dark is not empty. The dark is alive with lanterns. This is the realm of bioluminescence, life's ability to make light. Unlike the sun's gift, these lights are born within bodies, crafted by chemistry and released like quiet miracles into the water. They burn cold without heat, and they last as long as survival requires. The glow comes from a reaction. In a small chamber within a cell, a molecule called luciferin reacts with oxygen, guided by an enzyme named luciferase. The reaction releases energy not as heat, but as a photon, a particle of light. It is a tiny spark, but multiplied across organs, filaments, or even whole bodies. It becomes a lantern in the abyss. You watch a jellyfish drift by, its bell rimmed with glowing dots. They pulse in rhythm, expanding and contracting like a slow heartbeat visible in the water. Each pulse illuminates nearby particles, scattering shadows across the current. For a moment you can see where you are, and then the light fades, swallowed once again by blackness. A fish darts into view, its jaw long, its teeth needle-thin. Along its sides are glowing spots, tiny beads of blue. They are photophores, specialized organs that emit light. Some shine constantly, others blink in precise sequences. These are signals like lanterns waved across a silent night. Each species carries its own pattern, a language written in pulses of light. Light here is not decoration. It is survival. Some creatures use it to attract prey. You see it in the anglerfish, drifting slowly with its body almost invisible. From its forehead dangles a filament tipped with a glowing bulb. The light sways gently, imitating the movement of a small drifting animal. Drawn in by curiosity, smaller fish swim close enough to be swallowed by jaws that open wider than their bodies. Others use light to confuse predators. A squid, startled by your presence, releases not only ink but a cloud of glowing particles. The bioluminescent burst distracts and dazzles, a false constellation that buys escape. The squid vanishes into the dark, leaving only the ghost of its light behind. Still others use light to find mates. Tiny crustaceans flash in pairs, their lights blinking in synchrony. A luminous duet. Some fish glow only during certain seasons, signaling readiness with silent lanterns. In a place where sound is limited and scent fades, light becomes language, as rich and varied as any song. You float among them, awed by the diversity. Each glow is unique, steady or flashing, blue or green, scattered across the body or focused in one spot. Most are blue, because blue travels farthest in seawater, scattering less than red or yellow. Green follows, softer but still visible. Other colors are rare but not impossible. Some dragonfish produce red light, invisible to most creatures except their own kind, giving them a private flashlight to hunt with. The thought comforts you. Even in endless night, life finds ways to communicate, to connect, to survive. The ocean has not left its children voiceless. It has given them lanterns. As you drift deeper, you notice that the lights are not random. They move in patterns, in rhythms that suggest a kind of choreography. It is like watching stars in a slow dance. Some creatures rise upward as they glow, tracing lines like comets. Others hover, pulsing steadily like lighthouses in the dark. Together they form a living constellation. You imagine yourself lying beneath a night sky. The stars above you scatter light across the universe, ancient and unreachable. Here the stars are close, tangible, alive. They move with intention, with hunger, with survival. This sea is a mirror of the sky, but its constellations breathe. Marine snow drifts past, glowing faintly where tiny organisms cling. Even decay shines here, as bacteria break down matter and release light. Death feeds life, and light emerges even from endings. It reminds you that the cycle of survival is not grim, but luminous. Nothing is wasted, everything becomes part of the glow. A flash startles you, sudden, bright, deliberate. It is not soft like the others, but sharp, almost electric. A fish has produced a startle display, a sudden flare of light meant to shock predators into hesitation. For a heartbeat, the deep is lit like lightning. Then darkness folds over it once more. You realize how much of the survival here is about illusion. To appear when unseen, to vanish when noticed, to glow just enough to lure, but not enough to expose. Bioluminescence is not a simple lantern. It is a toolkit of strategies tuned by evolution across millions of years. You take a slow, imagined breath. The lights calm you, their rhythms like a lullaby. The ocean whispers that even in darkness there are ways to shine. Not with fire, not with heat, but with quiet persistence. You drift further still. A group of lanternfish swims past, their bodies glittering like a moving galaxy. The school curves and bends, each fish maintaining its place by reading the glow of its neighbors. It is collective survival, a harmony of lanterns in motion. You feel yourself moving with them, part of their constellation, part of their silent migration. In the distance a shape looms. At first it is only a suggestion, a darker shadow in darkness. Then faint lights outline its body, dots along the length, a pale glow around the jaw. It is a predator, perhaps a dragonfish. Its mouth opens slightly, revealing teeth that glint like glass. Yet it does not rush. In the deep, speed wastes energy. It waits, glowing faintly, a hunter patient as the sea itself. You move past, unthreatened, unnoticed. You are a witness, not a meal. Still, you feel the weight of its gaze. The way survival here depends on constant awareness. Every light is an invitation, every shadow a possibility. And yet, even in this tension, there is beauty. You begin to see the lights not only as survival tools but as art. They paint the water with shifting constellations, glowing tapestries that no eye but yours will ever see in this moment. They are fleeting, ephemeral, and yet eternal. For every night in every ocean they will shine again. Your thoughts slow, lulled by the gentle flickering. You find comfort in the idea that light is never fully gone. It changes form, shifts places, emerges where least expected. Even in the deepest dark, life finds a way to glow. Ahead, the lights grow denser. A curtain of tiny organisms pulses together, glowing in waves. It looks like the aurora borealis, but inverted, not in the sky above, but in the water around you. Green and blue ripples spread across the black, folding into one another. You float within it, as though the sea itself is breathing light. For a long while you remain there, wrapped in this living aurora. It feels like being inside a dream, one that asks nothing of you except stillness. Your body softens, your thoughts quiet. The glow surrounds you like a gentle blanket, carrying you deeper into rest. And as you drift within this light, you sense a new question forming. The lanterns show you how to endure the dark. But how do creatures endure the hunger? Food is scarce, survival uncertain. Light may dazzle, but it does not feed. Ahead lies a different challenge, a new lesson waiting in the silence, how to live when energy itself is rare. You float in a living constellation, lanterns guiding you deeper into silence, and you wonder how life survives not only the dark, but the endless hunger of the abyss. Hunger in the abyss. Food is scarce and survival is patient. Creatures drift, swallow, or wait in silence. Each adaptation is an answer to emptiness. You see how life endures when energy is rare. You have drifted with the lanterns, dazzled by their light, and now the glow begins to thin. Around you stretches the midnight sea, silent and black, immense in its stillness. In this quiet, a new truth emerges. There is little to eat here. Above, near the surface, sunlight feeds the phytoplankton, tiny plants of the sea. They bloom, multiply, and become the foundation of the food web. But no sunlight reaches this depth. Here, nothing grows from energy of its own. Instead, survival depends on what falls. You begin to notice it, the slow, gentle snow. Flakes drift downward in endless supply, fragments of dead plankton, discarded shells, fish scales, fecal pellets, broken bodies of creatures that once swam in brighter waters. This is marine snow, the only constant rain in the deep. At first glance it looks delicate, even beautiful. Tiny white flecks drift past you, illuminated by faint bioluminescence. They resemble ashes or stars falling instead of rising. But to life here, each speck is precious. Each is food, each is survival. Creatures gather in patience, waiting for the snow. Some open wide mouths, filtering particles from the current. Others drift slowly, conserving energy until a fragment brushes their skin. Hunger teaches patience. In this place, to move too much is to starve. You see a fish hovering with its mouth slightly open, its body still, fins spread. A flake drifts inside, then another. It does not chase, it does not rush. Its survival is not speed, but stillness. Energy saved is energy earned. Farther below, a carcass sinks, the body of a large fish, perhaps a tuna that died near the surface. It falls like a gift into the abyss, drawing scavengers from every direction. Hagfish arrive first, their slender bodies knotting and twisting to tear flesh with keratin teeth. They slide inside the carcass, eating from within. Soon crabs arrive, tearing at soft tissue, while amphipods swarm over what remains. In the deep, such a feast is rare, and nothing will be wasted. You notice how survival here is a matter of timing. To arrive too late means emptiness. To arrive too early means waiting in vain. Patience is both weapon and prayer. The ocean floor tells the same story. Vast plains of silt stretch across the abyssal plain, quiet and sparse. Food arrives slowly, patchily. Creatures bury themselves in mud, rising only when they sense vibrations of something edible drifting close. Some worms build long, sticky filaments, catching snow like nets. Others rely on chemosensory cells, tasting the faint traces of nutrients in the water. Hunger has sharpened every sense. Not all hunger is answered by waiting. Some predators here hunt with strange patience. A gulper eel drifts into view, its mouth enormous, its body thin. Its jaw opens wider than its body length, able to engulf prey many times its own size. In a world of scarcity, nothing is refused. The eel cannot afford to be picky. Anything it finds must be swallowed whole. Another predator lies still, disguised as sand. Only its glowing lure rises, a faint dot of light. A curious fish draws near, mistaking the glow for food. In an instant, jaws snap shut. Hunger does not allow hesitation. You realize that in this place, scarcity itself shapes survival. Creatures do not waste energy on beauty or excess. Every adaptation is a response to emptiness. Transparency reduces the cost of building pigment. Slow movement conserves calories. Gigantic jaws, expandable stomachs, and flexible bodies mean no opportunity is lost. Some fish here carry stomachs that can expand like balloons. They may wait weeks between meals, but when food comes, they gorge, swallowing prey nearly as large as themselves. Their bodies stretch, distend, hold what they cannot finish now to be digested slowly over time. Others rely on fat-rich tissues, storing energy like savings in a bank. The oil not only fuels them but keeps them buoyant, a double gift in a world where every advantage matters. You notice too the eerie quiet of migration. Each night trillions of animals rise upward, chasing food near the surface under cover of darkness, then sinking back before dawn. This vertical migration is not only for light, but for hunger. Energy calls them upward, energy calls them back down. It is the largest daily movement of life on Earth, unseen by human eyes. Even giants feel hunger. A whale carcass sinks into the abyss, becoming what scientists call a whale fall. It is a banquet that can last decades. First come scavengers, sharks, hagfish, amphipods. Then worms colonize the bones, feeding on fats deep inside. Finally, bacteria bloom, creating entire ecosystems in the remains. One life becomes the survival of thousands. Hunger in the deep teaches that nothing dies alone. You pause, reflecting on how different this is from the surface, where food is plentiful, competition constant, and waste inevitable. Here, nothing is wasted. Every flake, every fragment, every body becomes part of another life. Hunger has turned the deep into a perfect recycler, a slow, patient engine of survival. And yet, the hunger is endless. For every creature that feeds, many others still wait. Their bodies grow thin, their movements slower. Some will not survive the wait. In the abyss, survival is not guaranteed. It is a gamble, a balance on the edge of scarcity. You feel this truth pressing into you, not as fear, but as awareness. The ocean whispers that hunger is not only about food. It is about longing, about the patience to endure emptiness until fullness arrives. It is a lesson not just for creatures of the deep, but for you, drifting in your own currents of life. Hunger teaches humility. Hunger teaches stillness. Hunger teaches gratitude for what does arrive, no matter how small. You drift among creatures that have mastered this art. Their lanterns glow faintly, conserving energy. Their bodies stretch wide, ready for any chance. They have no luxury of choice, and yet they live. The silence deepens. Around you, particles still drift, glowing faintly as they fall. The snow never ends. Life will always find something, even if it is only a flake. And so the abyss endures century after century, through hunger and scarcity, through waiting and patience. Ahead, you sense another shift. Hunger explains how creatures survive without food, but how do they endure with such strange, dreamlike bodies? Transparent, gelatinous, glowing, distorted. The deep has sculpted forms that seem like illusions. You are about to drift into a gallery of strangeness, where every body is a story of adaptation. Hunger has taught you patience in the abyss, and now the sea opens a stranger door, where bodies stretch, glow, and dissolve into dream, each shape an answer to survival's quiet riddle. Strange bodies, strange lives, transparent skin, expanding jaws, glowing organs. The deep reshapes bodies into dream-like designs. Every odd form tells a story of survival. You marvel at life's endless imagination. You drift deeper still, into a world where hunger has sculpted bodies into shapes that feel less like animals and more like dreams. Here, survival has no single script. The sea experiments endlessly, shaping forms that seem impossible, grotesque, or beautiful, depending on how you look. At first you think you are seeing illusions. A faint shimmer, almost invisible, passes before you, and then you realize it is a creature, its skin entirely transparent. Only its eyes, black and reflective, give it away. This is the glass squid, one of many who wear invisibility as their only armor. Without pigment, their bodies vanish into the water. To predators, they are ghosts. Transparency is a gift of scarcity. Why waste energy building colors or patterns where there is no light to reveal them? Better to disappear, to let the water itself be your skin. Many jellyfish, ctenophores, and larval fish carry this secret. They are seen only when caught by stray light, and even then they shimmer more like water than like flesh. Nearby drifts another oddity, the barrel-eye fish. At first you see only its small mouth and eyes staring upward. Then you notice something stranger. The entire top of its head is transparent. Inside, two green orbs float like jewels, swiveling within a dome of clear tissue. Those orbs are its true eyes, turned permanently upward to spot faint silhouettes against the dim light above. Its skull is not armor, but glass, a window through which its organs can see. You pause, marveling at how strange survival can look. What would be deformity in another world is adaptation here. The barrelé thrives because it sees differently, because it allows its body to be half visible, half exposed. You drift farther and shadows grow stranger. An anglerfish swims slowly by, her body small, her head large. From her forehead extends a thin rod tipped with a glowing bulb. You have seen her kind before, but now you notice details. Her teeth, needle-sharp, point inward, ensuring nothing that enters her mouth can escape. Her stomach can stretch to many times her size. She is hunger sculpted into form. And yet, perhaps the strangest part is what you cannot see. The males of her species are tiny, far smaller than she is. When they find a female, they bite and never let go. Over time, their bodies fuse, their bloodstreams join, and the male becomes little more than a living organ, a provider of sperm in exchange for life. It is a marriage not of romance but of survival, an intimacy written in biology's most extreme ink. You consider this in silence. The deep sea does not waste. Even partnership becomes permanent, bodies folding into one another so that survival may continue. What seems grotesque is, at its root, a kind of endurance. A sudden glimmer catches your eye, a siphonophore drifting like a ribbon of light. At first you think it is one creature, but then you realize it is many. A colony of individuals, each specialized, living together as if they were one body. Some float and keep the colony buoyant, others sting and capture prey, others digest, and still others reproduce. Alone they are incomplete. Together they are a single flowing being, longer than a whale, fragile as lace, luminous as starlight. You drift alongside it, watching the pulsations ripple through its length. It reminds you of a choir, each voice different yet inseparable from the whole. This is survival as cooperation, life built not in isolation but in union. The deep sea whispers that even in darkness, togetherness can be strength. Another shadow rises, the gulper eel. Its body is thin, delicate, but its mouth is immense, a cavern that can open wider than its body length. It looks almost comical, until you remember hunger. With food scarce, it must be able to swallow anything it encounters. The gulper eel is not designed for elegance but for readiness. Its jaw hangs like a door on invisible hinges, and when it snaps shut, nothing escapes. Its stomach expands, its body stretches. It may wait weeks for a meal, but when one comes, it refuses nothing. As you watch, you begin to see a pattern. Strangeness is not random. Every odd form is an answer to a question the deep has asked. Transparency answers the question of light. Expanding jaws answer the question of scarcity. Glowing lures answer the question of hunting in dark. Nothing is wasted, nothing is meaningless. You pass by a comb jelly, its body shimmering like glass spun into ribbons. Along its edges, tiny cilia beat, scattering light into rainbow patterns. Unlike true bioluminescence, this is refraction, bending faint light into color. In the Black Sea, it looks like living aurora. Its body is soft, fragile, easily destroyed, and yet it has thrived for millions of years, carried by currents pulsing gently. Fragility here is not failure, it is survival by abundance, by existing in countless numbers. Deeper still, you see the rat-tail fish, with its elongated body tapering into a whip-like tail. Its head seems too large, its eyes glassy, its mouth downturned. Its form is awkward but effective for sifting the seafloor for scraps. Nearby, a tripod fish perches on long, spindly fins like stilts, waiting motionless for prey to drift near. Where mobility is costly, stillness becomes strategy. You notice that many creatures here carry bodies that appear distorted by surface standards, too large, too thin, too strange. But down here the word too does not exist. There is only enough, enough to live, enough to endure. The ocean writes no judgment, only adaptation. Some bodies glow from within, organs shining like lanterns behind thin flesh. Others are so dark they absorb almost all light, vanishing entirely into black. The dragonfish is one of these, its skin coated with microscopic structures that trap light, making it nearly invisible. And yet, from its jaw extends a lure that glows red, a color few others can see. It is a private weapon, a stealth light, invisible to prey until it is too late. You are reminded that strangeness often hides intelligence. The dragonfish hunts with a spectrum most cannot perceive, claiming an advantage by bending the rules of sight. Nearby, a Dumbo octopus drifts, its fins flapping like ears, its body small and soft. Unlike the ferocity of the dragonfish, its strangeness is gentle, almost whimsical. It hovers gracefully as though swimming is less movement and more floating. Its body is fragile, but its strategy is patience. It feeds quietly, lives slowly, dies without spectacle. Not all survival must look fierce. Some survives by softness. The longer you drift, the more you see that strangeness is not exception, but rule. The deep is a gallery of experiments. Some bodies are stretched, others compressed. Some glow, others vanish. Some fuse, others split into colonies. The sea has written 1,000 answers to the same question. How do you live where light never shines and food never lasts? Each body is a riddle solved, a survival strategy carved in flesh. To you they appear as monsters, angels, phantoms, or ghosts, but to themselves they are perfect. Perfect answers to the problems of their world. Your thoughts slow as you accept this truth. Strangeness is not brokenness. In the deep, strangeness is survival. You reflect quietly on your own life, on the shapes and adaptations you have carried to endure. Perhaps the oddities, the things that seem out of place, are not flaws but answers. Ahead you see faint shimmering rising upward, bubbles of heat, strange against the cold. The light of bioluminescence fades, replaced by a different glow. It is not made by animals, but by the earth itself. Hydrothermal vents, chimneys rising from the seafloor, pouring hot mineral-rich water into the black. Here survival is written not in hunger for snow, but in fire beneath the sea. You leave behind the gallery of strange bodies and follow a new light, born not of creatures but of earth, toward the hidden furnaces of the ocean floor, where fire feeds life without the sun. Heat in the cold dark. Near hydrothermal vents, fire lives underwater. Minerals rise like smoke, feeding entire worlds. Creatures feast on chemistry instead of sunlight. You learn how survival blooms where light never shines. You drift away from the gallery of strange bodies and follow a glow that is different from the soft sparks of bioluminescence. This light does not pulse in rhythm with animals. It rises in plumes, shimmering columns of heat in the coldest of seas. At first you think it must be a trick. How can there be fire in water? Yet here it is, hydrothermal vents, the ocean's hidden furnaces. The world around you has been silent, dark, and near frozen. Temperatures hover just above freezing, pressure weighs like a mountain, and life moves slowly. But as you near the vents, the water stirs. The ground itself seems alive. Black chimneys rise from the seafloor, some taller than a house, spewing clouds of mineral-rich water. The plumes billow upward like smoke from underwater volcanoes. The vents form where tectonic plates shift and crack, where seawater seeps into Earth's crust, meets molten rock, and returns heated, laced with metals and chemicals. The water surges out at hundreds of degrees, but the ocean's pressure keeps it from boiling. Instead, it emerges as a shimmering torrent, toxic to you but life-giving to others. You watch the plumes swirl. Some are black, heavy with iron sulfides. Others are white, carrying barium, calcium, and silica. The ocean floor here is painted by chemistry, by minerals rising instead of sunlight. This place is alien, and yet you feel wonder rather than fear. Around the vents, life flourishes in ways that defy surface logic. Where you expected emptiness, you see abundance. Whole communities cluster in the glow. Giant tube worms, clams, crabs, shrimp. They are gathered not around plants or sunlight, but around chemistry itself. This is a world of chemosynthesis, life that feeds not on the sun, but on the Earth's deep energy. Bacteria here use hydrogen sulfide, the rotten egg smell of vents, to produce sugars. Just as plants use chlorophyll to catch sunlight, these microbes use enzymes to capture chemical energy. They are the true pioneers, the base of a food chain unlike any other. Tube worms tower above you, some taller than a person. Their bodies are long, encased in white chitin tubes. At their tops, bright red plumes wave like flowers. Yet these are not mouths or leaves. The worms have no stomach, no digestive tract at all. Instead, they harbor bacteria within their tissues. The red plumes gather sulfides and oxygen, carrying them into the worm's body. The bacteria convert the chemicals into food, and the worm survives by sharing its body with its microscopic partners. It is a quiet covenant, a marriage of species written into flesh. Nearby, clams cluster in piles, their shells gaping open to reveal tissues dense with symbiotic bacteria. Crabs scuttle across the mineral-streaked rocks, scraping microbial mats from surfaces. Blind shrimp crowd closer to the hottest flows, feeding on the same invisible bloom. Life here does not hunt the sun, it grazes on chemistry. You pause to absorb the thought. For so long, survival seemed tied to light. Plants capture it, animals eat plants, and the chain continues. But here, light is absent, and yet life thrives. Energy comes not from above, but from below, drawn from the Earth's molten core, from cracks in its shifting crust. Survival here rewrites the story of possibility. The vents also create beauty. The chimneys grow as minerals precipitate, stacking upon one another. They resemble cathedrals of stone, sculpted by invisible hands. Around them, shimmering water bends the light, making the entire scene waver like a dream. It is as though you are floating within a vision, one that should not exist, and yet does. And then you notice, even here, strangeness adapts. The shrimp that crowd the vents carry reflective shields on their backs to deflect heat. Their eyes, useless in darkness, have shifted into light-sensitive patches on their shells, tuned to detect the faint glow of vent minerals. They see not in images, but in gradients, enough to guide them closer to warmth without burning. Other creatures wander at the edges. The vent crabs are pale, nearly colorless, their shells etched by minerals. They feed on bacteria, on carrion, on whatever the vents provide. Their bodies endure temperatures that swing from near freezing to scalding within inches. Flexibility is survival. The tube worms, silent sentinels, sway gently as currents pass. They seem still, but inside them millions of bacteria work without pause. You realize that survival here is not individual. It is partnership, cooperation, dependence. No creature survives alone. Each is woven into the chemistry, into the microbes that perform their quiet alchemy. You think back to the surface where green plants unfurl leaves toward the sun. The comparison hums in your mind. Both photosynthesis and chemosynthesis take what seems unlivable, sunlight too distant, sulfides too toxic, and turn it into food. Life has two recipes, two books of instructions. Both are patient, both are miraculous. The vents do not last forever. Eventually their mineral chimneys collapse, their flows stop, their fires go out. Yet even this ending is not the end. Life migrates, bacteria find new cracks, tube worms colonize fresh vents. In the deep, survival is never static. It moves with the earth itself. You float, feeling warmth in a place that should be frozen. The vents remind you that life is not fragile ornament, but stubborn flame. Even here, where light has never reached, survival blooms in red plumes and white shells, in colonies and covenants. A thought stirs. Perhaps the origins of life were not in shallow sunlit pools, but in places like this. Some scientists believe hydrothermal vents provided the first spark, the first chemistry that led to living cells. Warmth, minerals, energy, and patience, enough to turn the lifeless earth into a living one. If so, then this scene is not just survival. It is history repeating itself every moment, a reminder of beginnings. You breathe slowly, imagining the invisible microbes weaving sugar from poison. Their work feeds worms, clams, crabs, shrimp, entire cities in the dark, all because they can take what seems deadly and turn it into nourishment. You feel soothed by the lesson. Darkness and hunger are not the end. Even in the coldest, heaviest, emptiest places, life finds a way to bloom. Sometimes with lanterns, sometimes with chemistry, sometimes with quiet partnership. As you drift away from the vents, their glow fades behind you. The warmth recedes, the silence returns. Ahead, the sea stretches once more into dark infinity. And in this vastness you sense another rhythm calling you forward. For even here in stillness life moves with time. Creatures rise and fall in nightly migrations, following the ancient pull of cycles. The deep has its own tides, not of waves, but of bodies moving in sync with the earth's rotation. You prepare to follow, to learn the rhythm of this hidden dance. The warmth of the vents fades behind you, and the sea grows quiet once more. Yet in the stillness you sense a pulse, the great migration that rises and falls with night. The rhythm of sleep and drift. Even here time pulses softly. Creatures rise and fall with the ocean's nightly rhythm. The great vertical migration becomes your lullaby. You sense how survival is tied to the dance of light. You drift away from the warmth of hydrothermal vents back into the cold and infinite dark. The silence deepens around you, and yet something has changed. The water feels less still, as though it carries a quiet pulse. It is not sound you hear, but motion you sense. An unseen tide, a gathering rhythm that stirs the blackness. This is the ocean's hidden heartbeat, the Deal vertical migration, the largest movement of life on Earth. Each evening, as the sun sinks beyond the horizon, trillions of animals rise from the depths, and each dawn, as light returns, they descend again. It is a nightly breath of the sea, rising and falling with perfect patience. You wait in the darkness, and slowly you begin to see it. At first, only faint silhouettes appear, tiny zooplankton drifting upward like a mist of life. They are no larger than dust, but their numbers are beyond counting. They shimmer faintly, catching glimmers of bioluminescent sparks. They are the first wave of the migration, rising to feed in surface waters, where phytoplankton bloom under the moon's faint light. Behind them come the small fish, lanternfish, bristlemouths, and others. Their bodies glow softly with photophores, tiny lights keeping them together in schools. They follow the zooplankton upward, feeding carefully, guided by the faint glimmers of their prey. The sea fills with drifting lanterns, as if a galaxy has turned inside out and begun to climb toward the surface. You watch in awe as the migration builds. Squid join, rising in swarms, their tentacles pulsing with slow, deliberate strokes. Larger fish follow, some with jaws wide, some with teeth that glint faintly like glass. Each predator follows its prey, each step of the food chain pulled upward together. The scale is vast, yet the movement is gentle. There is no rush, no frenzy. The rise is steady, like the tide. It is as if the ocean inhales, drawing life toward the surface where food waits. And when dawn comes, it exhales, carrying them back into the safety of dark. You imagine it as sleep and waking. During the day, the creatures rest in deep water, hidden from the sun's reach, conserving energy, avoiding predators that hunt by sight. At night, they awaken, climbing upward into the fertile shallows, where algae grow and food is plentiful. The cycle repeats every day, every night, unbroken for millions of years. Your body relaxes as you follow this rhythm. It is like a lullaby, slow and certain. Rise with the night, drift back with the day. The pattern is steady, and in it you sense comfort. Even in a place so vast, so empty, there is order. The ocean breathes and life moves in time with its breath. You notice how survival depends on this timing. If a creature rises too early, it risks being caught by lingering light. Too late, and it may miss its chance to feed. The dance is precise, tuned to the faintest changes of dusk and dawn. Even without eyes, even without clocks, the animals know. Their bodies carry circadian rhythms, inner timekeepers that sense light, temperature, and even the pull of the moon. A lanternfish glides beside you, its belly glowing with soft light. Its eyes catch the faintest spark. its body turning upward as though drawn by an invisible thread. It has done this every night of its life, and so did its ancestors, stretching back into ages when continents were in different places. Migration is not choice but inheritance, written into its very cells. Above you the density grows, billions of bodies move together, forming a living cloud that stretches for kilometers. Scientists sometimes call it the deep scattering layer, because sonar bounces off it as though it were solid ground. Yet it is not land, but life, a shifting continent of fish, plankton, and squid. You feel yourself carried within this cloud, drifting upward, part of the great ascent. The movement soothes you like being rocked in a cradle. Around you lights blink softly, fins stir gently, bodies rise without haste. The migration is immense, but it is also quiet. No creature wastes energy on frenzy. In the deep, patience is survival. And then you think of the return. When dawn approaches, the migration will reverse. Each animal will descend, falling back into the safety of darkness. This too will be orderly, as if choreographed by the ocean itself. The sea breathes in, then out. The rhythm never falters. You consider your own sleep, the way your body drifts each night into darkness, then rises again with morning. The pattern feels familiar now, as though your breathing and the seas are the same. Sleep and wake, rise and fall, hunger and rest. Life is not chaos but rhythm. You imagine how fragile this balance is. If light is too bright, if waters grow too warm, the rhythm may break. The migration may falter, the chain of feeding disrupted. Yet for now it continues, as it has for ages, steady as a heartbeat. The thought calms you. Even in the abyss there is constancy. You close your eyes and let yourself drift fully into the current of the migration. Your body rises with the plankton, floats with the lanternfish, drifts with the squid. You are no longer an observer, but part of the movement, carried by the same hidden clock. You feel weightless, timeless, safe. Ahead you sense something larger moving with the flow. Shapes vast as shadows pass through the cloud. Perhaps they are whales rising to feed on the dense swarms of krill. Their bodies move with gravity and grace, immense yet effortless. Their calls ripple through the dark, low notes that tremble across your skin. Even the giants follow the rhythm, breathing with the sea. For a long time you simply drift. There is no need to hurry, no need to resist. The ocean carries you just as it carries everything else. You are part of the nightly breath, part of the great vertical tide. And then slowly you feel the ascent pause. You have reached the shallows where feeding takes place, where the snow of phytoplankton blooms into clouds of nourishment. The swarm spreads out, each creature finding its place. The sea grows busy but still quiet, as though every motion is softened by patience. You linger there, suspended between hunger and rest. Around you creatures feed in silence, their lights blinking softly, their bodies moving in slow arcs. It feels like a dream of stars, a galaxy feeding itself on invisible dust. And in that dream, a new thought comes. If rhythm guides the ocean, what guides the heart? If migration is survival here, what migrations shape your own life? You wonder if you too carry hidden cycles, pulses of longing and rest, patterns that carry you upward and downward in time. Ahead, the first pale hint of dawn waits. Soon the migration will reverse. Soon the great breath will exhale, and life will sink once more into the abyss. And with that descent, you will follow, into deeper silence, into greater mysteries still waiting. The ocean has rocked you in its nightly breath, and now dawn stirs on the horizon above, calling the swarm to sink again into shadow, toward the silence where giants drift. Giants of the depths, squid stretch their limbs into shadows, whales sing in vibrations that cross oceans. The scale of life here is both gentle and immense. You float between giants, small but safe. You have followed the migration upward, into the cloud of feeding life, and now the horizon shifts again. The pale suggestion of dawn calls the swarm to sink, and as it does, new shadows begin to move among them. These are not small, delicate forms, They are immense, vast, stretching across the dark like drifting continents. You are entering the realm of giants. The first passes silently, long arms trailing like ribbons through the water. A squid, but larger than any you have seen before. Perhaps a colossal squid, its body long and thick, its tentacles armed with hooks instead of simple suckers. It drifts with a slow, measured grace, conserving energy despite its size. Its eyes are enormous, the largest of any creature on earth, wide as dinner plates, tuned to catch the faintest glimmers in darkness. You realize that size itself is a survival strategy. In a place where food is scarce, being large means storing energy, moving efficiently, traveling long distances to find prey. The squid hunts not by frenzy, but by patience, using sudden bursts of speed only when necessary. It waits, then strikes, tentacles shooting outward like harpoons. You feel small beside it, and yet strangely safe. The squid does not notice you. Its life is focused, honed by hunger, tuned by pressure. It is not concerned with your presence, only with its own endless rhythm of waiting and lunging. As you drift farther, you sense vibrations in the water, low, resonant, like the beating of a drum in a distant chamber. They grow stronger, trembling through your body, not as sound but as sensation. This is the voice of a giant, a whale. From the darkness emerges a shape vast beyond measure. A sperm whale, its body sleek and massive, rises into view. Its head is enormous, filled with organs that guide its sonar. It opens its jaws and clicks pulse into the sea, sharp, powerful bursts of sound that travel for miles. Each click strikes the water, bounces back, and tells the whale where prey hides. The whale's voice is not just sound but sight, not just communication but perception. In the midnight sea, where eyes fail, sound becomes map and mirror. You feel the clicks ripple through you, a reminder that the giants do not simply survive here. They thrive, turning the silence into language. The whale dives deeper, chasing prey that hides in the abyss. Perhaps it hunts giant squid, battles fought in darkness that humans have only imagined from scars carved on whale skin. Teeth meet tentacles, sonar meets stealth, predator meets predator. The struggle is immense, but it is hidden, silent to all but the combatants. You float at the edges of this unseen war, feeling both awe and stillness. The whale, though fierce in hunt, moves otherwise with gentleness. Its calls are not only weapons but also songs, voices that travel across entire oceans. Some clicks become coders, patterns of sound that identify clans, cultures passed down through generations. Even in the deepest dark, community is remembered in song. You realize that the deep is not empty, but filled with histories spoken in vibrations. Whales remember roots, families, migrations, all carried in the quiet persistence of their calls. Giants here are not only bodies but memories, living archives drifting through time. Farther on you encounter another leviathan, this time not predator but filter feeder, a baleen whale, perhaps a fin whale or blue whale, the largest animal ever to live on Earth. Its size defies belief, longer than a bus, heavier than any dinosaur. Yet it moves with absolute grace, slow arcs of its body pushing effortlessly through the water. It opens its vast mouth and water floods in, filled with krill and plankton. The baleen plates filter the catch, letting the ocean pour back out. The whale feeds not with violence but with abundance, swallowing swarms of life smaller than a fingernail. Giants can be gentle, their survival based not on teeth, but on patience and scale. You watch as the whale glides past, its heartbeat slow, its presence immense. It seems impossible that such a creature exists in a world so dark, so empty. And yet it does. Life has made room for the largest of all beings in the very place that seems least able to support them. Around you, schools of smaller creatures move aside, parting as the giant passes. No one resists, all yield to its mass. You feel yourself yielding too, letting its size wash over you like a wave. You are small, and in that smallness you feel safe, carried by the ocean's immensity. Not all giants are whales. Some are invertebrates, soft-bodied, patient. You drift past a siphonophore stretching for tens of meters, longer even than a whale. It is delicate, transparent, yet vast, its colony of individuals glowing faintly in unison. Its length is a living rope of light, drifting like a galaxy through the dark. Its body is fragile, but its scale is monumental. Another shape rises, the oarfish, long and ribbon-like, shimmering silver in faint glimmers of light. It is said to be the origin of sea serpent legends, for its size and strange form. Yet it is peaceful, feeding on plankton and small crustaceans. Giants, you realize, are not always fierce. Some are myths come alive, their size mistaken for monsters, when in truth they are gentle wanderers. You reflect on what it means to be small among giants. At first you expected fear. But here size is not threat. It is presence, gravity, rhythm. The giants move slowly, conserving energy, their patience greater than yours. They do not rush, for they cannot afford to. They endure by stretching time, by slowing the pace of hunger and movement. You begin to notice how your own body responds. Your breath slows, your thoughts ease. You are learning the rhythm of the giants. Move only when necessary. Conserve what you can. Let patience guide you. Their scale is not only in body, but in time. Whales may live for decades, even centuries. Giant squid, though shorter-lived, carry cycles as long as myth. These lifespans stretch beyond your own, yet they remind you of continuity, of endurance. The giants are not temporary flickers, but long burning stars, steady beacons in the ocean's night. You listen again for the whale's call. It echoes faintly, miles away now, but still present. It reminds you that even in emptiness, connection persists. Giants speak to one another across distances you cannot imagine, their voices weaving the deep into community. The sea is not silent, it is a cathedral of low hymns. As you drift among them, you realize that giants embody the paradox of the deep, immense but gentle, powerful but patient, terrifying in size but peaceful in presence. They remind you that survival is not only about sharpness or speed, it can also be about scale, endurance, memory, and song. The migration continues, creatures sinking back toward their daytime depths. Giants too begin their descent, fading into the black below. You feel the current pulling you with them, guiding you downward. The light of bioluminescence thins, replaced by silence once again. Ahead lies the abyssal plain, a vast desert of silt and stone, stretching farther than continents, deeper than imagination. Here survival will become even more fragile, even more astonishing. The giants have shown you endurance, but the plain will show you resilience, life balanced on the edge of nothing. You leave the giants behind as they sink into the black, their songs fading into vibrations too low for words, and you feel the sea pulling you toward the abyssal plain, where silence itself becomes the measure of survival. The edge of survival. At the abyssal plain, silence feels eternal. Each heartbeat of a creature is a fragile victory. Life balances on the thinnest line of possibility. You reflect on survival as both science and wonder. You drift away from the giants, their songs fading into a memory carried by the currents. Around you, darkness deepens once more. Bioluminescence grows rarer, scattered sparks instead of curtains. The water is colder now, heavier, denser with the weight of miles above. You are entering the abyssal plain, the true floor of the ocean stretching endlessly, as vast as continents. It is a place without landmarks, without peaks or valleys, only flat, silent stretches of fine sediment. The silt lies in layers like dust on an untouched floor, built grain by grain from marine snow, from the remains of lives lived far above. Here time itself seems slower, measured not in days but in centuries, as if every moment were stretched thin across the dark. You pause and listen. There is no sound except the distant murmur of currents. Even pressure feels different here, not pressing down but surrounding you completely, a cloak that holds rather than crushes. You are part of it now, a thread within the endless fabric. And yet, even here, life persists, fragile, rare, but real. You notice the first sign, a brittle star stretching its arms across the silt. Its movements are careful, almost hesitant, each limb sweeping across the surface in search of particles. It is slow, but in slowness lies endurance. It wastes nothing, every flick of its arm a calculation. Nearby, a sea cucumber inches forward, its body soft and gelatinous. It grazes on the sediment, digesting whatever organic matter has fallen from above. Its body is a tube, simple and unadorned but effective. It survives by patience, moving across the plain like a pilgrim, leaving faint trails in the dust. A crab scuttles across your view, pale and nearly transparent. Its shell is etched with scars, its claws thin but precise. It stops often, testing the silt, sensing vibrations that might mean food. Nothing here is wasted, nothing here is guaranteed. Each bite is a gift, each survival a victory. You realize that here every creature lives at the edge of possibility. Energy is scarce, food uncertain, pressure immense, and yet life endures. It does not flourish in abundance. It balances on the thinnest line, adapting to scarcity with grace. You drift lower, your gaze following the slow fall of marine snow. What looked delicate above now feels essential. Each flake is life, each fragment an offering. Tiny amphipods scurry to intercept it, breaking it down further, turning one body into another. The recycling is absolute, nothing lingers unused. Here and there you see ghostly fish, rat-tails and grenadiers, their bodies thin, their eyes large and glassy. They hover just above the silt, fins spread, conserving energy. When food appears, they strike, quick, decisive, then still again. They live in a rhythm of patience, long waits, brief bursts, then longer waits still. A shadow draws your attention, the remnants of a whale fall, bones scattered across the plain. Long ago, the carcass would have been a feast, sustaining an entire ecosystem for decades. Now, only skeleton remains, but even that is not empty. Bacteria cling to the bones, releasing energy that feeds tiny worms. Osedacs, the bone-eating worms, drill into the marrow, digesting fats hidden within. Life does not stop, even when all that remains is bone. You pause to reflect. On land, survival often seems loud, frantic, fast. Here, survival is quiet, slow, fragile. Every heartbeat is measured, every breath conserved, every choice weighed. To live here is to master patience beyond imagination. The abyssal plane is not lifeless, but it asks for humility. To survive, you must give up the luxuries of speed, of abundance, of certainty. You must accept emptiness as part of the rhythm, and you must take what little comes with gratitude. And yet, even in this stillness, beauty persists. A sea star, luminous in pale colors, spreads across the silt like a flower opening in shadow. Tiny shrimp scatter around it, catching flakes of food the currents deliver. The simplicity of their survival feels profound. Fragile lives making the most of what little the sea allows. You think of time again. In the abyss, change is measured slowly. Sediment builds at millimeters per 1,000 years. A shell falls and may lie undisturbed for centuries. Creatures live long lives, growing slowly, aging slowly, until at last they too return to the plain as food for others. Time is not urgency here. It is patience stretched across lifetimes. You sense the connection to Earth's history. For most of the planet's existence, life was slow, fragile, microscopic. Only in recent epochs did abundance bloom in sunlight. The abyss remains a mirror of those earlier ages, a reminder that life does not need abundance to endure. It needs persistence, adaptability, and patience. Another creature catches your attention, a cusk eel, pale and serpent-like, wriggling along the seafloor. Its body glows faintly, not with bioluminescence but with the sheen of its skin. It disappears quickly into the silt, hiding from predators. Even here in scarcity, fear persists. To live at the edge is also to live in vigilance. And yet, you feel no fear yourself. The abyss holds you gently as if saying, see, even in emptiness there is enough. Not abundance, not plenty, but enough. Survival at the edge teaches gratitude for small things, for single flakes of snow, for faint trails of food. for one heartbeat after another. You think of your own life, of times when energy felt scarce, when possibilities felt thin. The abyss whispers that survival is not always flourishing. Sometimes it is simply continuing, one breath after another, until conditions change. Fragility is not failure, it is endurance in its most honest form. The silence deepens as you drift farther. You see fewer lights now, fewer movements. The abyss stretches without horizon, its plain endless. You feel both small and infinite at once, as though your body is only a thought in the ocean's vast memory. And then, in that stillness, you sense a new presence. Faint at first, but steady. A signal not of life, but of memory carried by life. Messages, whispers in the dark, waiting in the plain. Not sound, not light, but something stranger. The abyss holds stories, carried not by whales or squid, but by something crafted by human hands, drifting into the unknown. Ahead lies that mystery, the whispers of messages sent into the dark, carried across time and space. The abyss is not only survival, it is also memory. You rest in the stillness of the abyssal plain, where each heartbeat is survival against silence, and you feel the sea opening to deeper memory, toward messages carried in the dark. Messages in the dark. In the silence, faint signals wander, whales speak across oceans with low hymns, machines send their pulses through water's skin, and you wonder what stories the dark still carries. The abyss around you feels eternal, an expanse of silence and shadow. Yet the silence is not empty. If you listen carefully, not with your ears, but with your whole body, you begin to notice it. Faint vibrations, low and steady, like the hum of a distant bell. These are messages in the dark. The first come from whales, those giants whose songs thread through oceans like ribbons of memory. You hear the long, low moans of a blue whale, sounds so deep they tremble more than they ring. They can travel hundreds of miles, curving around seafloors, bending with the planet itself. To another whale far away, the song will arrive as clearly as if sung nearby. These are not random notes, but patterns, a language built on resonance. Each species sings differently. Humpbacks weave long, complex songs that change with seasons, verses repeated, then altered, then shared across oceans. Sperm whales speak in codas, patterns of clicks that identify families, cultures passed down like stories. Belugas and narwhals chatter with whistles and trills, their voices bright in the dark. The sea is a choir, though its voices are carried not by air, but by pressure and patience. You realize that sound travels better in water than in air. Water is dense, heavy, and sound moves through it with more strength, carrying farther, bending less. Where light fails, sound endures. The ocean becomes a vast telephone, every vibration a possible message. Not all messages are gentle. Some are sharp clicks, hunting calls, sonar pulses cast by predators like dolphins or sperm whales. Each click is a question. Where are you? And the echo is the answer. In darkness, sound is sight. But sound does not belong only to animals. Humans too have filled the ocean with signals. Submarines send low-frequency pings that travel for hundreds of miles. Research vessels map the seafloor with sonar, pulses that paint the shape of mountains hidden beneath water. Cables stretch across the seabed, carrying whispers of human voices, data, stories, entire lives. The deep, once untouched, is now a corridor for our messages. And yet, some messages are stranger still. In 1997, scientists recorded a sound, the bloop, so loud it echoed across the Pacific. For years, people wondered if it came from a creature larger than any known whale. Later, it was traced to the cracking of icebergs. Still, the mystery lingers, reminding us how little we know of the sea's voices. You drift, letting the vibrations move through you. Some are sharp, some are soft, some steady, some fleeting. The ocean is not silent but filled with conversation, between whales, between machines, between ice and stone. Even earthquakes speak here, their rumbles traveling across basins, shaking the memory of continents into the sea. You wonder what the abyss remembers. Every vibration leaves a trace. Every sound is a story, carried by water long after it fades from ears. Perhaps the deep is a library, holding songs and signals that no one else will ever hear. Ahead you imagine something even stranger. The messages humans have sent not just into oceans, but into space. The Voyager spacecraft, now drifting between stars, carry golden records filled with greetings, music, and the sounds of Earth. Among them are the voices of whales, recordings of their songs sent into the cosmos as ambassadors. Somewhere in the silence between stars, a whale's voice still travels, singing Earth into the unknown. The thought moves you, that the same songs that tremble here in the abyss are also carried into eternity, etched into a disk of gold, spinning among galaxies. Whales sing to each other, but they also sing now to whatever may listen in the dark beyond Earth. The ocean's messages are not confined, they are universal. Back in the abyss, the sounds shift again. A chorus of shrimp crackles faintly, each snap a small burst of sound as claws release bubbles of energy. Alone they are whispers, together they are static across the dark. Small voices can still fill the sea. You sense the layering of scales, the smallest crackles, the long calls of whales, the deep booms of tectonic shifts, the artificial hum of submarines. The ocean carries them all, mixing them into a constant, endless song. To drift here is to drift in memory itself. You think about your own messages, the ones you send into your world. Words spoken, letters written, gestures made. Many vanish quickly, forgotten. But some endure, carried farther than you expect. Perhaps you too leave echoes, vibrations that travel beyond sight, touching lives in ways you may never know. The abyss teaches you that silence is never truly empty. It is filled with traces, with signals faint but enduring. Even in the deepest dark, communication persists. Life insists on being heard, even if only as a ripple in the current. You let your body soften into this awareness. Every sound is gentle now, part of a lullaby. The whale's hymn, the shrimp's crackle, the tectonic sigh, the faint hum of human machines. Together they become a rhythm, a slow music that carries you deeper into calm. And in that calm you sense the next threshold. The abyss has shown you survival, strangeness, hunger, giants, and messages. But what lies beyond the sea itself? The dark reminds you of space, endless, silent, filled with unseen giants and faint signals. The deep ocean is not only Earth's mystery, but also a mirror of the cosmos. You begin to wonder, if survival is possible here, at the edge of pressure and silence, could it also be possible out there, beyond the stars? The sea has been a rehearsal, a reflection, a whisper of something larger. The ocean's messages prepare you to listen for the universe's own. The deep hums with voices you cannot see, songs of whales, whispers of shrimp, echoes of Earth itself, and you feel the dark stretching farther still, toward the silence of space beyond the sea. The golden record's song. From the deep your thoughts turn outward to a record that carries Earth's voices into space. Whales sing beside Bach, greetings in many tongues, a fragile message of who we are sent into eternity. The sea has carried you into silence filled with messages. Whales sing, shrimp crackle, tectonic plates sigh. Every sound is a story carried by water. As you drift in the abyss, you imagine another silence, not beneath the ocean but beyond the sky. A silence even deeper, more endless, where messages travel not through water, but through space itself. And into that silence, humanity has already spoken. In 1977, 2 spacecraft left Earth, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, each carrying with them a small gift, a fragile capsule of memory. Affixed to their sides was a golden record, etched with grooves of sound and image, a message to whoever or whatever might one day find them. A song from Earth carried outward forever. You picture the disc, golden, round, no larger than a dinner plate. On its surface are diagrams, instructions for how to play it, should it be found. It is both simple and impossibly complex, both ordinary and extraordinary. It is at once a record, a map, a prayer. Inside its grooves are voices, 79 greetings in different languages, from Akkadian to Wu, simple words, hello, peace, greetings from the children of planet Earth. They are small, human, fragile, yet together they form a chorus of connection, a statement that we are here. Alongside the voices are sounds of earth, wind, rain, waves breaking on a shore, a mother kissing her child, a heartbeat, the laughter of people gathered together, the songs of birds, the calls of wolves, the deep moan of a whale. Earth's voices, not only human but more than human. And then music, Bach, Beethoven, Stravinsky, folk songs from Peru, panpipes from the Solomon Islands, chants from Aboriginal Australia, a Navajo night chant, a Japanese shakuhachi piece, the sound of blues from the Mississippi Delta. Music carried not as entertainment, but as essence. Humanity's diversity pressed into a disk of gold. You drift in the abyss and you realize the whales you heard moments ago sing here too, carved into the record, carried into space. Their low calls rise beside human symphonies. In Voyager's message, whales sing not only for the sea but for the stars. The abyss and the cosmos are joined in one song. The thought soothes you. What was hidden in the deep is now echoed in eternity. What we share with the ocean, patience, rhythm, survival, is also what we share with the universe. The Golden Record does not claim to explain everything. It is not a manual, not a declaration of power. It is a gesture, an offering. It says, here we are, small but alive, fragile but curious. It says, this is what Earth sounds like, this is what Earth feels like, this is what Earth remembers. You imagine the disk now, still spinning through the cold of space. Voyager 1, farther from Earth than any human-made object, carries it beyond the reach of the sun's influence. It drifts in silence, but the grooves are still there, the voices still waiting, the songs still whole. Perhaps no one will ever hear it. Perhaps it will wander forever, untouched, unread. But that does not lessen its meaning. The message itself is enough. It is not only for others, it is for us, a reminder of what we chose to send, what we chose to say about ourselves. And what did we choose? Not weapons, not victories, not monuments. We chose greetings, we chose music. We chose the voice of whales. We chose a kiss, a laugh, a heartbeat. We chose to send tenderness. The ocean whispers in agreement. The abyss knows what it means to speak into silence, to send signals without knowing who will hear. Whales sing into waters where no one may answer. Shrimp crackle without audience. Even tectonic plates shift and send their rumbles into endless distances. The Golden Record is simply humanity's version of the same truth. We sing because we must, even if no one listens. You pause, floating in the dark, and reflect. What message would you send if you could? A song, a word, a silence? Perhaps survival itself is already a message, every heartbeat an echo that says, I am here still. Perhaps wonder is another, every gaze into dark a quiet prayer. The abyss softens around you as you imagine this. You are part of the chain of voices, part of the choir that stretches from plankton to whales, to people to spacecraft. The Golden Record is not a foreign object, it is a continuation of the same rhythm, the same desire to be known. Ahead you imagine its journey, past planets, past stars, past galaxies, the grooves still holding their vibrations, the songs still waiting. Perhaps in 1,000 years, in 1,000,000, someone will find it. Perhaps they will place a needle to its surface and Earth will sing again. Waves will break, whales will moan, children will laugh, and across the void we will be heard. Until then it drifts, until then it endures. Until then it remains a song in silence, like the whales in the sea, like the shrimp in the reef, like the tectonic plates in the abyss. Life always speaks, even when no one answers. The ocean has shown you survival. It has shown you strangeness, hunger, giants, and whispers. Now it shows you that every message, no matter how faint, joins a greater song. You are part of it. The deep sea sings, earth sings, even space itself may one day echo with those notes. As you drift farther, the abyss grows quieter again. The songs fade, the vibrations soften, but the thought remains that somewhere beyond our message continues, a golden lantern drifting endlessly. You feel the ocean's silence close again around you, but you carry within it the echo of Earth's golden song, a message still traveling outward, beyond the stars, reminding you that even in silence, we are never alone. Returning to the light. You rise again, carrying stories from the dark. The surface glimmers above like a promise. Your body breathes easier, but your mind remembers. The deep sea whispers as you drift towards sleep. You rest for a while in the silence after the golden record song, as if your body too must pause before the journey back. Around you, the abyssal dark folds in gently, calm and heavy, a blanket that has held you through hunger, pressure, strangeness and song. You have drifted with lanternfish, watched squid stretch like shadows, followed whales through their hymns. You have listened to silence and you have heard it speak. Now you feel a shift. The current carries you upward, slowly, softly, as though the ocean itself has decided it is time. You begin the long return, the ascent that mirrors the descent. Your body rises not quickly but with patience, just as the sea has taught you. At first, nothing changes. The abyss looks the same, endless and still. But as you drift upward, faint signs appear. A brittle star lifts from the silt below. A grenadier fish hovers, then fades into shadow. These are the last guardians of the plain, watchers of scarcity. You leave them behind, rising into layers where life grows denser. You breathe in slowly, not air, but calm. You breathe out, and the weight feels a little lighter, though you know the pressure still surrounds you. Every meter upward lessens it. Your body feels the release as a soft expansion, a loosening. You understand now why whales rise carefully, why divers ascend slowly. The sea asks for patience even in departure. The first sparks return. Tiny flashes of bioluminescence greet you, drifting organisms lighting the black. They appear one by one, then many together, until the darkness feels alive again. You are moving back into the midnight zone, where lanterns float in silence. The creatures you saw before are still here. Anglerfish with their lures, squid glowing faintly, jellyfish pulsing like glass lanterns. Their lights seem like farewells, gentle signals to guide you upward. The ocean feels different now that you have been through its depths. What once looked like strangeness now feels like truth. Every glow, every tooth, every transparent body is not oddity but answer. You rise past them with gratitude, carrying their lessons. Patience, hunger, surrender, rhythm. Higher still, the twilight returns. A faint blue haze spreads above, weak but unmistakable. After so much blackness, it feels luminous, like dawn arriving after a long night. Shapes sharpen. The migration swirls around you again, plankton drifting upward, lanternfish following, predators moving through their schools. The sea inhales and exhales, and you are carried with its breath. You notice the rhythm more clearly now. The ascent is not only yours, but theirs. Countless bodies rising in time with you, their lives tuned to the same cycle. It comforts you to feel part of something vast and orderly. You are not rising alone, you are rising with the ocean itself. As you drift upward, pressure loosens further. Your body remembers air, your lungs stir in anticipation. You feel as though you are climbing through layers of sleep, deeper dreams giving way to lighter ones. The sea has been a dream, but a dream filled with truths. The colors return slowly, at first only blue, then hints of green, then a flicker of yellow in the faintest shafts of light. You realize that color itself is abundance, a luxury the deep could not afford. Reds and oranges that disappeared on your way down now return, painting the water in warmth. You marvel at them as though seeing them for the first time. Creatures change as well. Transparent forms give way to brighter ones. Fish with silver sides, schools flashing in unison, corals faintly visible on rocky outcrops. The shallow life is louder, more restless, more colorful. You feel the contrast keenly. The deep was stillness, the surface is motion. Both are alive, but in very different languages. You drift higher and the water grows warmer. Sunlight pierces in beams, scattering silver across your skin. The beams are no longer rare, but plentiful, spilling everywhere. The sea becomes a cathedral of light, as it was when you began. The surface glimmers faintly above, rippling, beckoning. For a moment you pause. You do not rush the last part of the ascent. You linger, suspended between two worlds. You think of what you carry. You have seen creatures invisible to most eyes. You have heard the songs of whales, the whispers of vents, the hush of hunger. You have witnessed survival balanced on the thinnest line. You have felt the weight of oceans and learned not to resist but to yield. You breathe slowly and you know you are changed. The sea has written its lessons into you. It has taught you that survival is not always abundance, that strangeness is not failure, that silence is never truly empty. It has taught you to listen, to wait, to soften, to glow in darkness when you must. At last you rise to the surface. The water breaks above you into air, into light. The sky stretches wide, endless in a different way than the abyss. Clouds drift, the horizon glimmers, the sound of waves replaces the low hush of currents. You take a breath, real air filling your lungs, expanding your chest. It feels both familiar and new. You carry the sea's lessons into that breath. You carry its calm, its patience, its song. You float now at the surface, the descent and ascent complete. The ocean holds you one last time, rocking you gently as if to say goodbye. And yet you know it is not a farewell. The sea remains always below, always whispering, always waiting. Its stories continue in the depths, in the silence, in the lanterns, in the whales' songs. You have only visited, but the memory will remain with you like a tide within your body. The light grows warmer as the sun climbs higher. Your eyes grow heavy, your mind quieter. You have carried yourself through darkness, through strangeness, through pressure and hunger, and you have returned to brightness, full of reflection. The journey has ended, but its rhythm lingers. The sea's voice drifts into your thoughts one final time. Remember that even in silence there is song, even in hunger there is enough, even in darkness there is light. You let these words settle inside you like a lullaby, a tide, a breath. And as you float, eyelids heavy, you drift not into the abyss this time, but into sleep. The surface glitters gently above you, the deep rests quietly below, and you close your eyes carrying both, a dream of darkness, a dream of light. You and the sea. The journey has ended, but its rhythm lingers. You carry the ocean's patience in your breath, its silence in your thoughts, its lanterns in your dreams, and you drift now, not through water, but into sleep. The sea has carried you far, deeper than most eyes have ever wandered. You have followed the slow descent into twilight, lingered in the patience of hunger, listened to the echoes of giants, and touched the stillness of the abyss. You have heard the messages whispered in the dark, and you have risen again, back to light. Now the journey is complete. Yet the ocean does not leave you. Its rhythm lingers, gentle and steady like a tide inside your chest. Each breath you take is a wave, each exhale a returning current. You are no longer drifting through water, but through the soft current of rest. The sea taught you that life endures in silence, that survival blooms even where light cannot reach. It showed you creatures transparent and glowing, bodies stretched into impossible shapes, jaws wide enough to swallow scarcity whole. It showed you whales singing to each other across oceans, their voices weaving families and memories into sound. It showed you vents where fire lives underwater, where bacteria weave food from poison, where life begins again in impossible places. All of it remains within you, not as images to be remembered, but as feelings, patience, wonder, calm. You feel them now, settling into you like grains of silt on the seabed, layering gently, building something steady and lasting. You recall the lanterns in the darkness, the sparks of bioluminescence scattered like stars in the abyss. They remind you that light is never truly gone. Even in the deepest night, something glows. Even in your own quiet, something within you shines softly, a lantern to guide you forward. You recall the giants moving slowly, speaking in low hymns that travel farther than sight. They remind you that strength can be gentle, that sighs can carry patience, that presence can last longer than urgency. You feel their rhythm in your own heartbeat, slower now, calmer, steady as a tide. You recall the abyssal plain, flat and silent, where every flake of marine snow was survival. It reminds you that nothing is wasted, that even the smallest fragments have meaning. It whispers that fragility is not failure, it is endurance in its purest form. And you recall the golden record spinning through space, carrying Earth's greetings, laughter and songs. It reminds you that even in silence, we send our voices outward, not knowing who may listen, not needing to know. The act of sending is enough. The ocean's lesson too is that to sing is to survive, to echo is to exist. Now, as you lie here, eyes heavy, you feel the sea's teachings settling like a lullaby. The pressure of the deep becomes the weight of your blanket, steady but kind. The rhythm of migration becomes the rise and fall of your breath. The silence of the abyss becomes the quiet of your own thoughts. You are not beneath the waves anymore, yet you carry the sea within you. Every heartbeat is a reminder of the ocean's persistence. Every breath is a wave rolling across your own shore. The sea whispers to you one final time, rest, drift, you are safe. It tells you that you have seen enough for now, learned enough, carried enough. The journey need not continue outward. It may now continue inward, into rest, into dreams, into the silent depths of sleep. You imagine yourself floating once more, weightless on the surface. The stars shimmer above, the ocean glimmers below. You are balanced between them, held by both. The sky carries your dreams, the sea carries your memories, and you rest in the middle, whole and quiet. Your eyelids soften, your body loosens, the rhythm of the sea merges with the rhythm of sleep. You feel yourself carried, not downward, not upward, but gently inward into calm. The ocean does not end, and neither does rest. Both stretch on, vast and eternal. Both hold you without question, without demand. You belong to both. So now you drift, not in water, but in stillness. You drift into sleep, carrying the glow of lanterns, the song of whales, the patience of the abyss, and the tender hum of Earth's golden record. You drift and you are safe. You drift and you are whole. You drift and you are home. The sea closes softly behind you, leaving only calm, only breath, only rest, and you surrender to its final gift, the deep, steady silence of sleep.